Satellite coming down in 3, 2, 1.
Go, go, go!
Whereas Operation Firestorm breaks the mold as the first ever classic Battlefield map remade and shipped at launch, I had the chance this week to get my hands on a wholly original multiplayer level, and one many players are dying to see. This is Mirak Valley, the largest of Battlefield 6's launch maps. I'm going to hit the brakes immediately and talk about that last sentence. Mirak has been rolled out as the game's largest launch map. However, large is a relative term. With Firestorm dialed back a bit, this map may hold that title, but in comparison with most other large-scale levels of past Battlefield games, it is fairly moderate in size. While this might be a bit disappointing for those looking for a massive 7 or 9 flag sprawling layout akin to Golmud or Bandar, or Highway Tampa or Dragon Valley, this is not it. This does not mean that maps of that scale will not come post-launch, and it does not mean that there is anything inherently wrong with Mirak Valley, on the surface at least. So for the time being, let's put scale behind us and take a dive in. Mirak is smaller than the backdrop makes it seem, as the map boundaries are fairly tight along the north and south. There is enough room to drive vehicles around the fighting, although if you are going north, expect incoming fire from the construction site in the center. The map is divided into 4 or so combat zones. On the west, a battle-scarred landscape evokes thoughts of Battlefield 1, especially with the trenches and shattered trees and buildings. In the center, the construction site is made up of 2 large buildings going up with materials scattered all around. The interiors of these are actually really well designed and detailed, perfect for long-term fights and cat-and-mouse situations. Rooftops can be accessed via helicopter and zipline. While they cannot be brought down entirely, whole sections can be damaged enough to crumble. Toward the south, a small farmstead sits fairly isolated. To me, it's not the most engaging objective, but there is enough cover, and it is the one that vehicles will likely duke it out over the most, since the other areas pose a far greater threat from infantry. A bonus tank, mobile AA, and even another attack helicopter will spawn here, making it incredibly desirable. Furthest east, a small village probably resembles what was once on the opposite end. Densely packed small homes and vehicles create the perfect arena for infantry. In these combat zones, 5 flags are almost symmetrically placed with 2 in the construction site, 1 in each building. The flags are spaced well for a level of this size and require a bit of walking in between. While there are no large hills dominating the landscape, there are plenty of earthen mounds to break sightlines and provide cover. Between the 2 towering structures of the construction site sits a large crane. I'm very happy to say that breaking the counterweight causes it to collapse after a few seconds, with the forward section smashing into one of the buildings. This is possible to achieve in all of the played game modes, and while a bit smaller and less impactful than some might like, it is at least a spectacle event. Aside from the crane, destruction is commonplace. Trees come down, as do most of the small houses, cars blow up, and many walls of the construction site can be demolished. One point to make a big deal about is the map's aesthetics. We've seen multiple maps from Battlefield 6 now, and while the level of detail and immersion is very high, we haven't really seen a war-torn environment. Mirak Valley brings this element to the forefront, probably providing the best open-scale atmosphere since Battlefield 1. Whether that does any heavy lifting for the experience is up to you. As advertised, the full suite of Battlefield vehicles is here for players to rumble. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's everything in the game. From the deployments, lots of light transports, 1 IFV, 3 tanks, 1 transport helicopter, 1 attack helicopter, and 1 of each jet type can be found, with the jets launching from runways in the back. The aforementioned bonus tank, mobile AA, and attack helicopter are found at the C objective. These vehicles clash everywhere and constantly, a result of the almost linear nature of the layout. Infantry have plenty of defilades to seek protection and fire on armor, so it is fairly balanced in that regard. I have some concerns about the proximity of the main bases to the first objectives, though not to the same extent as Firestorm. With the map boundaries being what they are, full capture base traps might be difficult to break, and the lone verticality of the construction site would give an absurd rocket launching and targeting platform. Aircraft will also need to take heed of the automatic base AAs. Breakthrough, however, might not be everyone's thing. Similar to the experience found on Firestorm, Mirak is fought over 3 sectors. Again, surprising and a bit short considering it's the big map. Also, like Firestorm's Breakthrough, much of the greater map area is ignored in this mode in favor of a constricted, linear frontline push. This I take issue with. It is one thing to provide players with that linear meat grinder breakthrough experience on a map like Liberation Peak, where the map is intended to be like that, but creating an artificial bottleneck on a larger map is just strange. It seriously hampers flanking opportunities or vehicle usage, and that is certainly felt in the first sector, which I found very frustrating. Approaching from the western side, cover is sparse and defenders can access some floors of the construction site for a long sightline. Once past this first sector though, the experience does improve dramatically. Overall, Mirak Valley is a solid map with very nice atmosphere. The terrain deviation and object placement make it work, but I can't shake the impression that it's overly simple. A field with some hills, houses, trees, and trenches, with 2 big, bland buildings in the center. Compared to many levels of previous Battlefield titles, the map is still a marked improvement, so take that for what it's worth. Most rounds I experienced were trying to gain access to the construction site roof, or dealing with those already on it, and by the actions of many of my teammates, this was a similar thought process. In ground armor, fighting enemies was fairly enjoyable, though I felt misled into thinking I had a choice about where I could realistically go. The amount of vehicles on a somewhat open environment is going to make a lot of people very happy, including myself. Any chance I have to knock helicopters and jets out of the sky with a tank shell is a good time. It's just not going to scratch that classic Battlefield itch of a massive level that just seems to go on, and requires some deeper strategic planning. But, like I said, maybe we'll get that after launch. Mirak Valley is quite surprising. There isn't a lot to break new ground here, but there is a lot of intricacy to the way it plays. It felt like an intense Battlefield map, so that's another win, and something gamers can look forward to. With that, I hope you enjoyed this first look at Mirak Valley. Let me know what you think of the map so far. Thanks again to EA and Battlefield Studios for allowing me to participate. I'm also happy to announce that I now have an EA creator code for you to use when purchasing any EA product, including Battlefield. If you enjoy my content and want to support my channel, enter the creator code GravityBF during the checkout process via the EA app or online store.